Welcome back to this episode of Control the Chaos Mama podcast. This is life and launch strategy for ADHD entrepreneurs, creative rebels, and overwhelmed moms. If you are juggling all the things and just wanting to follow through on a few, maybe many, then this is the podcast for you. We are all about podcast strategy. That is what's really helped me to build this umbrella brand to let me be me, the multi-passionate, squirrely me. And I want to tell you guys all about Podcast School for Squirrels. It will be coming out very soon. I'm working hard behind the scenes to develop something that is going to help you create some follow through, some consistency, and also go around your energy. When it comes down to energy, that is really what we are going for. That dopamine hit is happening because you are excited about something. You should be excited about your work. And so we are going to be working together to create really kind of a podcast rebellion, because if we can connect the reason that you want to go into business to your story and make it big enough and important enough to follow through, then it will happen. So I'm developing that behind the scenes. And so if you're not already on the wait list, check out the show notes and get on there, or come follow me on Instagram, Podcast School for Squirrels, or Control the Chaos Mama podcast, or even my personal one, angel.mcelhaney. I'm really excited about it, and I hope that you guys are too. Your story needs to get out in the world, and I hope that this helps you to really embrace the helper role that is going to benefit, like all the people that are going to benefit from you speaking out all about your hard stuff, all about your life experiences, and the things that you can really provide for everyone else. So it's not all about you. You need to get your story out there. What are you waiting for? Anyway, this episode is not about podcasting. It's actually all about being. I know sometimes that we prioritize, I know I do, the doing. And as someone who, I'm actually Enneagram 8, but the second one that came up for me was a 3, and they tend to love achievement and those accolades and the completion of, or the way they feel when they win something or they've reached a certain level of success. And so I know that I've always struggled with productivity, and I have always really valued checking off those things on the to-do list. And while that is valuable, we need to learn to also prioritize the being. And so what is the being? That could be things that are like meditation and journaling and all of these things that can be seemingly hard for someone with ADHD. And so I've had to get a little creative to make my mind kind of slow down and really just kind of come back to center. I call it centered versus balance. I hate the word balance. I feel like it's a myth and something that is unattainable, but centered just sounds like something that is just at your core, that you slow down, that you come, connect more deeply with yourself, others, God, that you are like centered. I love that word. Anyway, so how can you become more of someone who can be as someone who has ADHD? I have a couple tips for you, and I hope that you find these helpful. So the first one is earbuds. I know this sounds super simple, and for years I walked around with the little headset around my neck, and I found that sometimes I would need to put an earbud in just one side, and I would have to have something playing. And so what this would do is kind of, I feel like, filter the noise if I was overstimulated, or give me stimulation if I wasn't getting it. And yeah, while you might not want to do this during meditation, you could actually do some binaural beat sounds through those headphones, or possibly even, I know that I've experimented with like different hertz sounds. Like if you put in HZ sounds, like all of these positive vibrational sounds will come up, and those seem to be super relaxing too. The app that I've talked about a lot lately is Fabulous app. And in that app, as you're going through your morning routine, it actually will have these similar sounds like in the background. And sometimes I'll just leave them on like while I'm doing the habit, because for some reason that makes me stimulated enough, I guess, to keep my attention, and it has this being feeling. Now, number 2 is hammocks, and I am so not kidding. It is totally hammocks. I have a new hammock in my office, and it is amazing. It was kind of tricky to hang, I'm not going to lie, but I have one outside, and for something, I don't know if it's the surrounding of the cloth that's more maybe like a weighted blanket around me. I don't know if it's because it's relaxing. I don't know if it's because, when I'm outside, I do like look at the clouds. I don't know. It quiets my mind. It slows me down, and I really seem to enjoy it, and it does make me feel like I'm finally getting into the being stage. Now, number 3, of course, if you are going to try to meditate, you can focus on your breath and that sort of thing. And the act of distraction happens for everybody. And so redirecting it back and not making a big deal about it is probably the biggest advice I could give. But that said, I've always felt that kind of meditative state sometimes whenever I am creating. So if you maybe put on some binaural beat sounds or some calming music, then what you could do is maybe create. So maybe do those watercolors, maybe paint, maybe, I don't know, what is the new hobby that you are into lately? And give yourself permission to do those things. Another thing that I found that is really calming for me is reading. So I love audiobooks. I will have an Audible book all the time going in my ear if I'm on a walk or whatever. And if I'm not doing that, I'm usually on Voxer or with clients like brainstorming, and I love that energy. But it is definitely a high energy up here, and it's not down here into like the calming vibes, right? So what I'll do is I will get a nonfiction book just for fun that is an actual book and read that. I also have found that if I make a little home for my phone, which is across the room, and set it there, then I'm going to be more likely to actually pick up the book. And then as a little rule, I tell myself I'm only going to read 2 pages because 2 pages doesn't take very long, right? And of course, we end up finishing it, or we end up reading way longer. And then I end up probably hyper-focusing on that and read all of the series in a weekend or something. But that is another problem in itself. Anyway, I hope that these suggestions help you to value the being, to slow down, to take the walk, to sit in the hammock, to create something, and give yourself permission to be. I think it's really important for us to slow down our thoughts. All of our thoughts are basically just swirling around there, and until we can get them out and on paper in maybe a journal or something like that, then I feel like sometimes we won't let ourselves calm down. It's kind of that look. I'm sure you guys have seen the TikToks and the memes and all the things where the person lays down to rest, and they look like they're resting, but they're not, because all of the busyness is inside their head. And so if you can get that out on paper in some way, whether that's creating or journaling, that is another thing that is super helpful as well. Now, my journals don't look pretty though. There is not a Pinteresty looking journal that I have. In fact, a lot of times it will be on this giant sketch pad that lets me show the big picture in such a way that I love. So it's a giant sketch pad. I open it up and I block it out. So I brain dump and then I prioritize it into blocks and I get it all out of my head. And the thing is a lot of the ideas that I've had and not followed through on, or the different things that I've been passionate about, if I go back to those old notebooks, the answers are already there. So this act of being will sometimes give you the answers that you're looking for, which is really amazing. So today I hope that you give yourself permission to rest, permission to be. And if you have another way that you do this, come and tell me, because I would love to hear it. Tag me if you are resting, if you're creating, if you are doing something that is just for you. And I think that's the biggest criteria. I think that in the doing, a lot of times we are doing it for someone else or for $1 or for whatever the thing is. Do you know what I mean? And so I think being can be valued just as much as the doing if we let it. I hope this was helpful for you, and I will see you guys next time. Wishing you joy and abundance. Angel.